So last time we talked about a 𝗏𝗂𝗫 with PTSD and depression, and this time we're gonna talk about a 𝗏𝗂𝗫 with PTSD and mommy issues. No, not me. The Annie origin cinematic is exactly what it is. It is her origin story. Her story is quite tragic, but there are some really interesting things that I'd like to point out before we actually go into the video. So the Annie cinematic story is basically the second half of her lore. The first part of the story is actually about her parents, Gregory and Emmeline. During Boram Darkwell's rule, Annie's parents, Gregory Grey and Emmeline the Witch, decided to demonstrate their 𝗏𝗂𝗫 strength by taming the borderlands rather than partaking in the political intrigue of the noble houses. So they left the capital and moved to the Iron Spike Mountains, where they have decided to build their home. During their journey to the Iron Spike Mountains, Gregory and Emmeline met colonists who told them great stories of shadow bears who once roamed the territory. And that fascinated Emmeline to the point where she decided to make a small toy version of one of those protective bears. Now, I think it's important to point out that the Iron Spike Mountains were in fact the border that is between the Freljords and Noxus. So those who were cold shadow bears might be Freljordian shapeshifters, or maybe even 𝗬𝗪𝗱 Ursine tribe, who were strange amalgamations of bears and other creatures. But then again, 𝗬𝗪𝗱 Ursine weren't much about protecting people, so it might just be a shaman or a spirit guardian. Now here's the part when things become quite tragic. When Annie was still a toddler, she and her father became really sick. Annie was burning with fever so hot she could no longer be held by her mother. So, out of desperation, Emmeline decided to leave in the middle of the night to try and fetch some icy water from a nearby river. But when morning came, Annie was completely healthy and Emmeline was nowhere to be found. After a couple of years, Gregory met Lyanna, who was a 𝗏𝗂𝗫 colonist with a child of her own. And that is the part where we go into the cinematic. As per usual, since I already watched the video, I'll be explaining things along the way. So without further ado, let's get started! Woo! Oh, the composition to this video is just so beautiful. I feel so bad for Lyanna. I really feel bad for her.
Why, Annie?
But then again, it wasn't really Annie's fault. So, you can't be blaming a child for that. Especially a child with powers like those. This is basically where Lyanna is already living with Annie and Gregory and Daisy. Like, they all live together. Like, it's like, okay, that's cute. That's cute. She draws her with her mom. But then it becomes terrifying. Like, okay, she draws her mom dead. And then basically, like, this is absolutely terrifying. This is absolutely terrifying. Like, if I was Lyanna, I would be, like, also extremely scared. And worried about her.
Bites the nasty dragon. Let me. No, he's mine. Hey, 𝗬𝗪𝗱 is stupid. No, he's not. Give him back.
Ooh. So this is basically the first time Annie uses her Q. So like we will see a lot of her abilities throughout the video, but this is the first time she uses her Q against Daisy. It's really important to point out the fact that yes, she just used her ability, but this is not the first time that she finds out that she has this power. Actually, ever since she was a toddler, she knew how to use her fire powers. For example, Gregory will leave Annie alone near a turned off fireplace just to come back and see that it was on. So it's not like it's the first time she ever used it, it's the first time she used it against someone. And you can see, you can tell, like she did it on purpose. She's really satisfied with herself. But at the same time, she's scared.
What did you do?
She took 𝗬𝗪𝗱.
What is wrong with you?
Yikes.
It was an accident.
Daisy started it.
Gregory is such a fucking good
I'll let
dad.
you know. Well, I'm sure she didn't mean to. You'll be playing together before you know it, okay? I promise, Firefly.
Like, I understand the mom's paranoia, but still. Ooh. Now that's something that I really want to point out. Okay, so this looks like a fairy, doesn't it? In early production, Daisy was not chasing a fairy, she was actually chasing a normal butterfly. But something in the production changed, and if they decided to change a simple butterfly into a fairy, there must be a better explanation to that. Because in Annie's lore, they never mentioned anything about fairies. The only time fairies are actually mentioned are in Lulu's lore, because she was brought to the glade by one. And interestingly enough, the interaction it has with the girls in this video is very, very similar to the interaction he has with Lulu in her lore. In Lulu's lore, Lulu also gave a chase to the fairy. The spirit led her far into the forest. They went over boulders, under logs, and around ancient overgrown stone circles. The fairy darted into the cave hidden behind a waterfall, and Lulu went after it. It flittered ahead, always just out of reach. We don't really know whether or not this fairy is trying to drag them into the glade or is just like playing with the girls, but either way, the forest, the boulders, the waterfall, it all sounds very similar to Lulu's story.
Hold on!
Now, I think it's important to point out that this is where Annie didn't mean to use her Q. Like, she was not trying to kill Daisy. Her powers actually come from her emotions. If she's overflown with emotions, she accidentally lets that power loose. So in this situation, she was not trying to kill Daisy. She was actually overcome with emotions and stress, which caused her to unfortunately use her powers. Now, another thing I'd like to point out is the river, because the only time we hear about the river is when Emmeline, Annie's mom, disappears. So my assumption is that Annie's mom might have suffered the same tragic fate as Daisy. But then again, we can't really tell whether or not Daisy and Emmeline are dead because they never said that they were. And if Daisy did actually die in that river, I know that this might actually sound far-fetched, but what if Ivern's Daisy has some sort of connection with this Daisy? In Ivern's lore, he found a wounded stone golem. Knowing that the poor thing's spirit was fading away, he fashioned her a new heart from a river pebble. He then named her Daisy after the flowers were mysteriously sprouting from its stone body. Like, this can't be just a coincidence. Like, there's a daisy, and then there's daisies, and it's mysteriously sprouting, not just sprouting, so it's not supposed to be happening, but it's happening. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about this, but it's just a theory of mine, so don't take it too seriously.
You can't blame Annie. She's still our daughter.
No. Your daughter's a monster.
Oof.
How could you say that?
You know it's true.
Oh, wow. And this is where she's getting extremely emotional. She cannot control it. Her power is just leaking out.
Annie, where are you?
everything.
Oh no. That is a big mistake on her part. Wow. Even if I watched it before, holy shit. This is the first time we actually see a dead body in a video. And the daisy being set on fire. Wow. Damn. Yeah, I think we can all agree that this was extremely overwhelming. The production team really thought how they could make her into more than just a tiny little pyromaniac. They wanted the video to look like a real child's fairy tale. So they settled for the painterly art style, which is a style that brings a painting to life, not through its line work, but through its brush and color strokes. The mix of 3D and painterly really gave it the raw texture that made it look as if each and every frame was handcrafted. The production on this work was absolutely phenomenal. Clearly they have put so much thought and work into it. So shout out to the team for making an amazing piece of art. Currently, lore-wise, Annie has no one besides 𝗬𝗫𝘱. She is an orphan child who is just roaming Noxus and just trying to keep away from the big cities since she doesn't really trust adults. She believes that they're all just like her stepmother, so she's trying to lay low. Other than that, she's a really nice and polite kid. Unless you piss her off. But anyway, guys, this is all for today. If you like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content and would like to support me, you can check out my Patreon and my donation page. I leave links to both of them down below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!
Bonjour.